So amazing. Day 2 of Dreamforce. Thank you for everybody for coming. We're incredibly lucky and fortunate to have a real trailblazer here called Amanda from AAG. So we're going to share with you today the incredible story of AAG. So firstly, we're going to set some context. We're going to tell you who the company is, the journey they were on, the thing they were trying to achieve. Then we're going to tell you some principles around what they adopted and why they decided to do it. And then lastly, we're going to tell you some key takeaways. So let me just quickly hand it over to Amanda to introduce herself.
Hi, so I'm Amanda Figg. I'm the CTO at Buttermilk Latham, but look after the subsidiary businesses, one of those being Asset Alliance Group. So just to give you a little bit of background on Asset Alliance, we're an asset finance company in the UK, and we primarily are leasing commercial vehicles such as trucks, bus and coach, and do a lot of finance for people like Transport for London. So within AAG, relatively small business, but a really diverse client base. And that client base can cover your very, very large fleet operators, but down to really small operators as well. And what we found is over time, our systems and things had grown. And like many customers, I'm sure, we had lots of individual systems that weren't particularly connected. The data across those systems wasn't unified. And therefore, we recognized we needed to change because as a company, we've got an amazing opportunity to grow. And the technology would have been something that held us back from being able to scale the business.
So I think one of the problems with being British is you're very understated. So firstly, Amanda runs an incredible business. They're $600 million in revenue a year, roughly. They're probably the largest provider of fleet vehicles and asset finance for those specific vehicles. And so when she joined, she saw this huge opportunity to kind of transform the whole business. And that's where the journey began. So as we started to look at this thing and work out how Salesforce was the platform for change, I think it's quite interesting for you to share with everybody why you decided on, rather than having like a digital first transformation, because you was literally transforming each business unit that was operating on spreadsheets and manual processes to digital, but actually you leapfrogged that by going to agentic first. So Absolutely. Would you mind sharing your thinking about why you decided to make that change and how?
So part of it actually was timing. We were really lucky with when we were looking to do the change. And as Sean mentioned, we really started off thinking, okay, initially, let's put in a CRM system. And we met with some partners and realized this wasn't what we needed. Actually, we had an opportunity with the platform to really innovate. And with that, we recognized all the gaps in our processes. We realized, where the issues were and that actually Salesforce had solutions for that. So with our opportunity for growth, what we want to do is ensure that from a headcount basis, that's not growing at the same rate as us as an organization as we really scale the business. And with Agentforce coming along, that really was a great solution for us. So we started off thinking, right, let's get some operational efficiency out of agents. And actually what we realized is that we've got like key person risk within the organization, people with knowledge that actually, if we could agentify really some of those processes, we reduced risk as well. So taking the agentic approach was one about scalability, operational efficiency, but also reducing risk as well. And then another nice part of it actually is that its accuracy is really good. So where you've got a lot of processes that are effectively repeatable all the time, human error comes into it quite a lot, and we can reduce that actually with agents. So
I'd probably say the takeaway for me was two things on that level. So the first thing was how you inspired the business, how you built confidence in them to adopt agentic and de-risk it, and how you built confidence in their teams that their jobs weren't at risk because it was a scale thing, right?
Absolutely.
The second thing I would also say that you did incredibly well in that process, just to share with everybody, was that you also took the time to set the foundations right. So you weren't just building an incredible business vision, but you was looking at your data and your kind of enabling foundations to get it right. Is there anything you'd share about that?
Yeah, so data was key to this. If you're putting rubbish in, that's what's going to come out. And also you need a platform with good data for the agents to work effectively as well. In terms of getting the business on board, we found so many pain points. So instead of turning this into what could have been seen as a technology project, what we did was change this into delivering business outcomes and looking at how we could make our colleagues' lives easier and get them working on the activities that add value. And, we had people that were real believers from the beginning, on that journey, very excited. But we actually had people as well that are quite insecure about change. They've been doing that role for many years. And really, they'd seen many of failed technology projects and really weren't believing in that. So the way we've delivered it has been in almost a show me. It's been a very collaborative, get the business involved. We've had lots of working groups to identify those pain points, to help work with them to get the right process and solution. But we're delivering monthly. So new functionality is seen and actually building up that pipeline of functionality dropping in regularly actually gets people on board and believing the art is possible. We've also had great opportunities with OSF and with Salesforce to get the teams into workshops. So we've had even the C-suite getting involved in data cloud workshops and building agents and things. And that's really helped them recognize this isn't just another technology fad and technology trying to sort of over-deliver something. It's actually possible. And building up that track record and momentum is now enabling us to actually say, right, what else on the platform is there that has other business value that we can take advantage of? So one area we hadn't, from the outset wasn't really on our radar was net zero cloud. And actually, in the industry where we're dealing with commercial vehicles all the time and with the changing legislation, what you find is the emissions and being able to measure and report on that's really key to our clients. So that's now a next step that we're sort of looking at and seeing how we can just build more into the platform, get that single version of the truth. And what's helpful to us is all that data then becomes available to us to be using for the agents as well. So it's giving us that real strong platform for the future.
Yeah, I think picking up on a point you said, culture was an incredibly important point that you focused on from the beginning. There's so many customers that we've seen through the years that don't bring business and technology on the journey together. And through running all those workshops, that was a really important thing that I think you did to connect both organizations together. What's the feedback been like from the business and technology as you've really changed the way they've worked? What's the key thing?
So people are now really excited because they can actually see we're not finished, we're still building, but we've gone live with a number of areas of functionality. And as I say, that's building up excitement and momentum. And actually, we're now getting demand from the parts of the business that were sort of further down the pipeline of delivery, saying when. So I think the feedback's been really positive. There's areas that we put the system live, they see further enhancements, and actually the agility to take that feedback and make those enhancements quickly has really helped as well. So we've got many other systems, legacy systems, that actually will be decommissioning. And they're used to sort of putting in a request and maybe a few months later, the change comes. And actually what we've been able to do is do playback sessions with them even before going live. And they're seeing the functionality and going, oh, but is it possible that we can have? And then a week later it's there. So I think that pace of change and the agility is really helping the business as well.
Yeah, I think just picking up on that point, I think another thing that you did incredibly well was you run at two speeds. So whilst you was trying to build the business vision and build the bigger program and get everybody to buy into it, align the funding around launching it at the board level, you kind of ran at a very quick programs project speed to build everybody's momentum, and you could do things differently.
Yeah.
I think it's worthwhile sharing that obviously you balance kind of two organisations at AAG. Part of you is a private wealth bank, and the other part's a trucking organisation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you share some insight into how you did that?
Yeah.
And why you did that?
So our parent company, being a bank, heavily regulated and actually relatively conservative given our client base. And that's meant that the processes and governance are there very much for good reason. But what we found within the subsidiaries is that we had an opportunity really to do something differently. So we had to look at risks and impacts and get people sort of relatively comfortable with working in a different way. The bank doesn't follow an agile approach, and that was something that was absolutely essential to us to keep these quick deliveries and keep the business really involved and have that speed. And what we wanted to do was not turn this into a program that you start and 2 years later you deliver. And by that point, people's expectations have been changed. And one of the things we said to get, our colleagues on board within the wider organisation is, look, we want to realise this value quickly because we need it now. So actually the whole delivery pipeline has been built around to deliver the high value stuff first. And that really, because it's worked and we've gone in there quickly, delivered value, that's given us broader support to then keep working in this way. So that's helped.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, because we're here at Dreamforce and everybody's talking about AI and agentic, I think people underestimate the transformation that the leadership that leaders like you have to provide to get organizations to follow. Are there any takeaways that you could share with everybody about how you made that happen?
So I think there's always going to be people with reservations around any adoption of new technology. It's something that people don't know. In a regulated industry in particular, people are concerned about the guardrails that you can put around that and customer-facing experiences. Now, it's not going away. It's there. It's, in people's day-to-day lives, they're using AI all the time. And I think that's what people had to recognize, that if you're using it in your own daily life, we've got to bring this into the business. And actually, the benefits are huge. So coupled with the benefits, the fact this isn't just a fad, it's not going away. We had to sort of get people comfortable with it. But by doing that, we're starting with the journey of really having agents that are more colleague support agents. We haven't gone straight to the customer side. And that will come, but what we're doing is building that comfort, understanding fully the risks, and also ensuring that the data is correct to work with those agents first. And I think once that's proven, that's where we start to scale more and more and more. But actually, even those smaller internal cases where potentially it's sort of lower risk to the business, they still add great value. So starting with them, proving them, really then builds that case and adoption for people to then invest in it more.
So I think the thing that we underestimate is that we do literally live AI every day. Mm-hmm. And in our personal lives, we use it. But I think the thing that you did with your board as a great example was that you actually showed it to them in a real world example in terms of how it could transform their lives, business lives. And I think that really helped drive the confidence and the commitment behind the change. So look, before we finish, are there any key takeaways, or two takeaways? One thing you'd probably do differently and one thing you do the same again?
Okay, so the one thing I didn't realize I'd do, so I come from a background of financial services, and so I knew financial services about that was kind of my area of knowledge. What I would now do, which we have done, and that was with help from OSF actually, was we explored the other clouds. So actually we have got a multi-cloud environment. We're using Auto Cloud and Financial Services Cloud, Data Cloud, Agentforce. We will soon be on Marketing Cloud as well, and Net Zero. So it's all coming together. But actually, I'd really encourage people to look at using this multi-cloud approach, because what we're doing is finding functionality that exists in those other clouds. So just yesterday, walked over and saw manufacturing cloud, and I'm like, oh my God, that bit's going to be really good for us. So now that's come up as well. And I would just say explore those areas.
Well, listen, we definitely need to get you onto Keynote next year, right? Because you're a far better salesperson than Mark Benioff, believe it or not, right?
So honestly, just explore. The solutions are there, and you'll find across industry they might apply to your area.
So the one thing I would say to anybody listening is that if you lean into the relationship with Salesforce and to a partnership, you can get a shed load out of it, right? Which is, I think, what you're saying. And the platform really is the business platform for change, right? Which is that point.
Yeah. In terms of what wouldn't I do? That's actually a lot tougher.
Those 2 extra drinks last night?
Oh, yeah, and the time, the lack of sleep. That's being more prepared and having more sleep would be a good one. But no, program-wise, it's, we've got some great stakeholders, we've got great partners. And as I say, just be open to all the different functionality that's there and explore it, and don't just stick to what you know, because that's where we've found the solutions. And so that's probably my biggest takeaway.
Awesome. So look, I've got to say thank you for coming all the way to San Francisco, for your first ever Dreamforce, and for being a really fantastic partner to Salesforce and to OSF. So
thank you.
And thank you for sharing the story.